Hi, my name is Irwin Williams. I'm a member of the Teleios Code Jam Build Team, and today I'm speaking with Dr. Kim Mallalieu. Dr. Mallalieu is a lecturer in the Faculty of Engineering at the University of the West Indies. Hi, Dr. Mallalieu.
Hi, Irwin.
How are you doing?
I'm excellent, thanks. How
All
are you
right.
doing?
I'm pretty good.
Good.
Dr. Mallalieu, could you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Me? Well, I'm dual citizenship. I have to start with that.
All right. All right.
Trinidad and St. Kitts. St. Kitts is closer to the heavens than any other place on earth. You knew that already, right?
It is.
Other than that, I lecture here at university, the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering.
All right.
I lead the Communication Systems group.
Right. As I know, you're specializing, or one of your specialties is in optical transmission.
That was a long time ago, yeah.
Right.
I did optics at bachelor's level, and my specialization in the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, my specialization was optics.
Okay.
And then I went on to do my master's in optics at the Institute of Optics, and then my area of work in my doctorate was again optics. It was actually not fiber optics, it was optical sensing and holography and things like that.
That's pretty cool.
It was very cool.
Right, did you actually build holograms and that kind of stuff yourself?
Oh yes, but not for display. We did holographic stuff for different purposes, for optical computing and things like that.
Wow, that's good to know. It's good to know you've always been involved in pioneering stuff then.
Well, interesting stuff. I prefer to look at it as.
Okay, fair enough. We're talking Teleios Code Jam. Have you also been doing software stuff as well? Have you been involved in writing code?
I've led a team that has been engaged in software development for some years now.
Okay.
And the reason I got there was just looking at ways, which is why I got out of the optics actually, because I studied many years ago, just around about the time perhaps when your parents were meeting.
Okay.
So so I studied optics around that time, I would guess. And when I decided to come back to Trinidad, which was a kind of a fluke, I realized quite rapidly that the path I was on was really quite inapplicable to Trinidad at this stage. Yeah, I was in a research environment in optics, and I could not sustain that work here.
Right.
So for the first few years, I went back to MIT. I had done my undergrad work and took up a post as a visiting scientist there in the summers, but taught here in other subjects.
Okay.
And then when I married my husband, I stopped doing that and switched my focus to thematic work that is more relevant to application level.
All right.
And so my interest at the time was, what is it about, generally speaking, the areas of my interest that could be applicable to Trinidad? And around that time, Patrick Hussain, who you know, because he taught you last year.
He did.
Yes.
He did.
He asked me to lead the communication systems group in the department, which he had established, and he was leaving university to take up a post in the US. So I took up the post of leading the communication systems group, and therefore looked at areas in which communication systems and communications in general could be applicable down here.
All right.
And my real focus was in traditionally underprivileged communities, underprivileged in any sense of physical disabilities, mental disabilities, poverty, any kinds of communities that were traditionally marginalized. And that's how I got into the mobile applications for that.
Right. So Teleios, as a company, we've been doing mobile applications for a while. Interestingly, to the user, all it is a text message. But behind that, there's a lot of things that goes into getting that message to you based on what you wanted and where you were and that kind of stuff. So it seems to make even more sense now that Teleios Code Jam would have been started between Teleios and yourself because, well, the areas seem to intersect so well. Mobile development and underrepresented communities.
Yes.
And of course, SMS being such a ubiquitous yet equalizing bit of technology. So then, talking about Code Jam start, which was 2008, as far as I know, there was a Code Jam competition. We participated. There were great applications coming out of it. But many people don't know the actual history as in how it actually started. Is it that you simply came along as an invitee, or were you part of the actual formation of the Code Jam competition?
back in 2008, I was the coordinator of a program called the Masters in Telecommunications Regulation and Policy.
Okay.
And part of that program was an annual feast. It was delivered to 30 developing countries around the world.
Okay.
I know this might not sound like it's connected, but I'm going to get there as quickly as possible. And because it was delivered by distance to 30 developing countries around the world, there was a component every year that we facilitated to bring participants into one physical place.
Right.
So each year we had a seminar, a 3-day seminar in a different Caribbean island. And that year, 2008, it was to be held in Trinidad. And the theme for the seminar, the MRP seminar, was the internet, yeah? And so we aligned the seminar with the annual event, which was the Caribbean Internet Forum.
Okay.
So in fact, we had the Caribbean Internet Forum as the MRP seminar. And round about several months prior, I happened to be talking to Cordell Lawrence,
right.
who you know.
Yes.
And we were talking because of our mutual interests in mobile applications
Okay.
and communications. And in our discussions, we both realized that we had this mutual interest in having something that would, my interest was in having something that would stimulate students into wanting to program for development. When I say development, I mean national development, social economic development.
Okay.
I had not conceptualized it necessarily as a programming competition, but I wanted something that was competitive and enriching. And Cordell said that he had this dream of having a Code Jam.
Mm.
And it was in passing almost that we had this discussion. And I said,
Right.
well, here's what. I am facilitating the Caribbean Internet Forum in Trinidad in a few months. How about we get together, Teleios and UE, and we hold as part of this event, so we're going to borrow from some of the logistics, because that's a key thing, right?
Yes,
Always
of course.
wanting to borrow other people's logistics, right?
Yeah.
Borrow some of the logistics from that and hold this as part of the whole event.
Okay. Okay.
We started immediately, and that's how I suggested that we call it Teleios Code Jam, because we weren't going to put any money at all in it. We were going to be the provide the logistical framework, and so, but university would have no money. So it was fantastic. We very rapidly contacted Teleios executives, and Kevin and Ronald.
Yeah.
They were immediately supportive, and
Right.
we went from there. We had I think it was a fantastic event.